Have our engine all cleaned up, got it degreased, is actually looking pretty good. This is one of the most important steps in your engine rebuild, in my opinion, is because it'll save you a lot of time and hassle later on once you get it in the garage and you start disassembling it, and you don't have to fiddle with all the grease all over your hands and so forth. Also allow you to do a better job on inspecting your parts. This is where your digital camera comes in handy. Before you start disassembling your motor, I'd recommend to go ahead and take some stills of it just to make sure where everything's at, especially like components on the oil filter and just stuff that just needs to make sure it gets back in the same position. The right side of the motor tore down, looking pretty good. We got our drive out for our distributor. Made sure we were examining everything. Matter of fact, we caught one item being bad. One of the motor mounts on the right side has been repaired at one time. Fairly decent repair, except for the mount that sits on the block was not flush. So when I got it examining it, I saw the weld. You may or may not be able to see it through the camera, but it is bad. Probably find one on eBay or maybe in a shed where we've tore some other things apart. Double up your nuts and let one nut work against the other and back him right on out. That it's a good effective way without tearing up the stud itself, and it'll back right out. So that's a little helpful hint for those guys that are trying to scratch their head on that, getting that out. Also, if you're fortunate enough to have a stud remover, you can just place that right on there. Kind of difficult maneuvering it with one hand with the camera, but you can use this stud remover as well. Left side of the motor tore down, looking pretty good. We went ahead and took the valve cover off of it. The valve cover, rocker train, the valve train looks pretty good. One of the items we noticed that when we got the motor mount off, it's cracked. So that's going to have to be replaced. So our donor motor, it's not looking too good, other than just some basic stuff, but we can smell where it's been overheated. It has a stench of burnt. So as we get into it, we'll figure out what it is. Alright, we're getting the motor split on down. As you can see, we got the valve train off of it. Staying pretty organized on my parts. And getting ready to take the head off here in a few minutes. We got the head off of it. Looking pretty good. Had one of the head bolts stuck, so we had to work with that a while. Very important. If you find one of them stuck, do not start just prying on it. You need to work with it because you don't want to break that sucker off in the block. First look inside the motor, splitting the front down. As you can tell, it's fairly clean so far. Tensioner seems to be in good shape. So we're going to press on. The front of the motor tore off. We have the camshaft out. We've actually went ahead and pulled some of the mains off just to take a peek at what we got. We have even wear. It is going to have to be cranked. Has to be turned. So thrust washers are pretty good shape. What we did find on a close examination of the camshaft, we have a lobe that's just worn completely out. We have some lobes that have shown a lot of wear. So camshaft is history. But fortunately, I have another camshaft that's in fairly decent shape from a 79 motor I have torn down once before and robbed some parts out of it. So We may make a Frankenstein out of the two, but other than that, we are well on our way. We're going to go ahead and get the crank out of this one and see what we got. Take the motor apart. As you can see on the top of the connecting rods, I mark them with little dots. Just a simple punch. Just notch them 1, 2, 3, 4. Keeps you straight on reassembly. Pistons are out. Examining the motor. Noted when we began this endeavor that we were talking about cylinders 2 and 3 did not have any compression. On the side of number 2, there just, appears to be some type of rubbing, just scuffed up pretty good. So didn't find anything in the cylinders that caused that, so I'm not quite sure where that come from. That was piston 2. Here on piston 3, we have a big chunk out of it. So not quite sure. Recalls that the rings are in pretty good shape, but we just got a big chunk missing out of it. So amazingly, our crank looks pretty good. We're still going to send it down to the shop, have it checked. Already got the pistons out of it and cleaned it up a little bit. I went ahead and took my ridge reamer and I went ahead and knocked the edge down where the top of the piston ring doesn't quite come to the top of the cylinder, so you have a little ring, an edge. I used my edge reamer, which you can purchase at most retail stores, parts stores, that is, engine rebuild shops. It goes right in there like that. You just go ahead and tighten it up. You keep working it, I suggest, by ratchet, so that way you can get even force on it, and that way you can reach down in there, fill your ridge once it's vanished, because once you get that cleaned up and you get it back from being sent to the machine shop and dipped, making sure you get all the veins. I just like doing that before, that way I get all the debris out of the block. So we got 3 more cylinders to do, and then we'll move on to getting it loaded in the vehicle and get it down to the machine shop.